Now, are you ready for your technical interview? If not, I got you covered. In this practice session with one of my students, we'll be preparing for his technical phone screen, which is a 30-minute phone call with the recruiter, and this is usually the first step in the technical interview process. So in this video, you'll get to see a real practice session with one of my students and get to hear my feedback that I give him on how he can improve his answers overall. So make sure that you watch this video all the way through. Like and comment below any questions you have, or just to let me know if you find this practice session helpful so I can post more sessions with my students like this. So let's get started. So Jordan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thank you. Nice to meet you finally. Really nice to meet you, man.
All right, awesome. Yeah, can you tell me a bit about yourself?
Well, yeah, my name's Jordan. I live in the UK at the moment. I'm born in America. I love coding, and it's just my hobby. Like it's what I love to do, and I just love building websites and like pushing out new features for even my own projects and just learning about code. Really, like just learning more and more, learning new technologies and things like that. That's really me.
Oh, okay. So I guess, have you always been working as a developer or something?
So I've basically been in sales for like the past 10 or 11 years now. So I've been in
Okay.
sales for quite a while. But then I came across like software development and I just started really loving it. And I've been in software development for about a year now. And I love it to death. It's really good.
Okay, so you've been teaching yourself how to code, or what's that look like?
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I taught myself how to code and everything. So I learned, started with like HTML and CSS, and then I learned JavaScript, and then it just sort of snowballed down into learning React, like obviously a framework for HTML and JavaScript, and just building on that and like building different projects. Like I taught myself Redux. I learned how to use like that as like a state management tool for my applications. And I've learned other things. Like obviously, I've learned things like Bootstrap. I know how to use REST APIs and to make API calls and the different HTTP methods and everything around front end development. That's basically all the stuff I've learned.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, can you kind of talk more about your experience with React?
So I've built three applications. My first one was an application I built using, it's basically a Hacker News clone, but I used just React to build it basically to make an API call to the News API and just to like basically get different news articles from around the web onto the website. A second application was a to-do list that used Redux and the Google Identity services. So yeah, basically I made Google API calls to Google to get authorization to sign in the user, and then I had Redux running in order to basically when the user logged in to pull their to-dos linked to their ID, user ID. So that's basically what that was. It was like a Redux to-do app basically. And then my third one was a Spotify clone, which I did quite a bit with. Basically made a lot of API calls to the Spotify API, and I used Framer Motion also, which is like a it's it's a it's a really good package to, it just gives you a lot to do with like transitions and animations between pages in your when you use React Router. I also added React Router to it, and I got like different transitions and things like that in it. I really wanted to like make it look really like decent, like really nice. Yeah, so that's all my experience with React really.
Okay, good. Let's see. So yeah, you said that you're born in the US. And so are you, I guess, are you authorized to work in the US and in the UK? Are you a UK citizen?
Yeah, I'm UK citizen and US citizen,
Okay, awesome,
dual
awesome,
citizen. Yeah.
awesome. That's actually Pretty cool. Are you open to relocating for a role?
Yeah, it depends on where it is. If it's within the UK and I can see myself developing, I would have to be really, really like impressed by the company I'm going to work for. Like there would have to be something that really, really wants to make me work for them.
If you were offered a job today, when would you be able to start?
I'd be able to start right away. Yeah, I'd be able to start right away.
Okay. So, are you not working right now, or
Yeah. So
what's
I,
that
I quit.
situation?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I quit my job to learn new technologies. I wanted to just put my effort and focus full time into just learning like a few new technologies and like just really just learning more and just applying myself full time and treating coding like it's really all I have. So that's the reason.
Oh, that's cool, man. Shows that you're dedicated and committed. Can you talk a bit more about your last job?
Um, yeah, so like my last job, I worked I worked sales with Sky. So I basically just like, took calls and had to sell to people like and basically retain their business. So I worked there for about a year. And yeah, that's really all I would do is just retaining customers that were had just joined Sky and were thinking about going to another network.
Okay, and how'd you help to retain customers?
So basically they would call up and I would, build rapport with them over the phone. I would find out the reasons why they wanted to come to us in the first place, what they really liked about their package, what was it that drew them to Sky in the first place, just to build back those emotions of the reason why they came to us in the first place to get those emotions in their head and get those thoughts in their head and then find out what they were offered elsewhere if they were offered anything elsewhere and find out the main reason why they wanted to leave us and then just from this information take this information and basically relay it back to them in a manner that would want them to stay with us basically, so use that information against them to make them stay with us.
That's good. That's good. So I guess you would say that you have good communication skills.
Yeah, I would say like from working in sales for like the past 8 or 9 years, I've learned to communicate with like especially all the different variety of jobs I've had in sales. I've learned to communicate with different types of people. I can read people quite well because with personalities, there's only obviously everyone's different, but there are specific types. There are certain types of personalities that people have that you tend to understand and you can you can just like understand them and relay information easier because of it. So yeah, I would say that was true.
Okay, good. Do you have experience working remotely?
Yeah. My job with Sky, I was working remotely. So I was basically working from home, taking calls from home. And then my job before that, I was working remotely also.
Okay.
I worked as a COVID call handler, which was interesting. But yeah, I was working remotely for both of those jobs.
Oh, cool, cool. And I guess when you're working remotely, like how do you make sure that you're effectively communicating with your team?
So with my job, communication with my team wasn't really the most important thing because the only person I really had to communicate with was my manager. And I would say the it was quite easy communicating with him because all I needed to do was send him a message anytime I needed help. If I needed any assistance, I would send him a message. And if I, maybe wanted some coaching or anything like that, he was always there for me. So, we would take video calls, and we would just always have um, a constant flow of communication all day long, really.
All right, cool. That's it for me actually. In terms of questions, were there any questions that you have for me?
Yeah, I was just wondering, obviously, this is the first stage of the like, we're kind of getting to know each other. Do you know what the next stage is going to be like and maybe how I should prepare for that stage if I'm successful now?
Yeah, so the next stage is going to be a kind of like a more technical discussion because right now I'm just the recruiter. I don't have a programming background, so I can't really dive deep into those kind of conversations with you. But the next stage is a technical interview with the engineering manager, which will kind of dive more into your actual like tech background. And I think that interview might kind of involve two parts, with the first part being a more technical, just kind of questions and answers to kind of just learn more about, what you know about technology. And the second part being like an actual whiteboard interview where you have to actually write the solution to something.
Okay.
So yeah, the best way there is to just kind of make sure that you review and study like the core concepts of the technologies that we work with, and that you just have a pretty decent grasp of JavaScript basics and React. So that's all.
Thanks. Yeah. And is any other questions I have? I don't really have. Let me think. Is there opportunities for me to develop in this role, like later on, maybe after I've been in the business for some time?
Yeah, good question. So that would actually be a better question for the engineer manager, but I do know that people that the company does tend to like hire from within, or I guess I should say promote from within. So there should be plenty of opportunities.
Awesome.
All right.
That's about it, really.
All right, awesome. Good job making sure that you actually had questions to ask at the end.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I remember you saying that, so I just thought to ask at least that one at least.
Yeah, and do not hesitate to ask the same set of questions to different people, right? Because I know times like people will feel like, oh, these questions that I asked have already been answered by somebody else. But
Yeah.
the thing is, a different person you talk to might give you a different answer on those questions.
Yeah.
But also,
Okay.
you almost always just want to have, at least a couple questions. So even if you have to ask the same questions, that person doesn't know that you asked somebody else. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that's all. But yeah, let me just kind of give you some feedback real quick. So I know when I asked you to tell me about yourself a little bit,
Uh-huh.
well, okay, something very important that you should keep in mind when you're doing a technical phone screen. Did you see how I was like writing down notes?
Yeah.
When you were talking, like that is what's going to be happening on that phone call. You get what I'm
Okay.
saying? So it's like when you are talking, just try not to ramble too much. Not to say that you were rambling, but just try to like minimize that and try to use keywords, because I was like, kind of just asking you, hey, tell me about yourself. And you kind of really, the like main note I wrote down was he loved coding. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
that was really like the main focus. But I'm like, that doesn't really tell me anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he just,
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means. So just make sure that you kind of like use technical words and jargons, right? Because the recruiter is doing a bunch of these calls and they're just jotting down notes. And after those calls, they are going to be reviewing their notes to see if you are a good candidate to move forward. So the more kind of keywords and technical jargons that you use that kind of like matches with what the job description is looking for and just kind of the core competencies of the job, that's what you need to make sure that you're kind of like focusing on when you're giving these answers. And keep in mind, like every question is an opportunity for you to sell yourself and to sell why you are a good person candidate for this position and role. All right, so don't like forget to try to like use that angle when giving those answers. All right, and you're like, so I think a better kind of lead in and response to the tell me about yourself will be you kind of just briefly touching on you having like a strong sales and customer service background, and then you starting to teach yourself how to code and enjoying it so much that you actually quit your job to teach yourself how to code full time, which now allowed you to build up on a lot of these different applications. Does that make sense?
So Yeah, that makes sense. So like, would you say like when I do that and I go from talking about, quitting my job, would I then go into keywords like the specific technologies and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they're
yeah,
going to write them
yeah,
down. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
Um,
kind of like my resume, but like talking about it because it's like we want to highlight the keywords.
exactly. Like
Mm.
the same exact kind of process, like reading a resume is different from someone actually like verbalizing what they did. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and hey, so keep in mind, React is not a framework, it is a JavaScript library.
Exactly how to structure it the way you're telling me to structure it. So it might seem like I'm rambling.
I see. Okay. When I asked you to kind of talk more about your experience with React, you uh like the actual note I wrote down was built 3 React apps, question mark. Like built 3 React apps. You get what I'm saying? Like that's not really like a strong selling point. And that's actually a lie because you built way more than 3 React apps. You get what I'm saying? Because even in those like tutorials that you were
Uh,
doing, you were actually
mm,
building applications as well. So
yeah.
instead of saying 3, I would urge you to say that you've built quite a few React applications.
Okay.
You get,
Yeah.
just that, change
Yeah, but
there.
if they look at my in my resume though, I was just trying to get the logic behind why. Like,
Oh, why? Yeah. So keep in mind, right? Like just like because something is all right. So here, you only have 3 apps on your resume, right?
mm,
Are those the only 3 apps that you built?
no. Mm,
Right? You get what I'm saying? So
yeah, yeah,
just because you only have 3 apps on your resume doesn't mean that's all you've ever done.
yeah.
All right. So
Okay.
just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and when talking about your experience with React, remember keywords, right? In terms of key technical kind of ideas. Talk about your experience working with class-based components and functional components. You get like those are kind of really just stuff that you want to quickly highlight. Because again, remember, I'm like writing down notes. So
Mm,
basically, if I'm like hearing those keywords and I'm comparing my notes on this candidate to
huh.
this one here, I'm like, all right, this guy, class-based components, all right, hooks, functional components, Redux. I'm reading that, okay, like this guy has the experience with a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff that we've been working with. Let's move him on to the next round to really see how he is with those things. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm talking about this in the like when they're asking me about me, do I talk about this kind of stuff too about me, or when they ask specifics, or do I just can I just say it whenever, like component based, functional components,
you
like
can like tie
class
it
based?
in. And so there's no hard and fast rules. Like you just black and white,
Mm,
say here, but don't say there. No, like it behooves you to kind of like tie those things in as often as you can where it makes sense to.
okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I'm like asking you to tell me a bit about yourself and you start talking about you learning to code and teaching yourself how to code, you can touch on it then. when I'm
Mm,
when I'm like asking about your experience working with React JS, right? Like it definitely makes sense to touch on it again, even though that's something that you already touched on. Because again,
mm,
like I'm just writing down notes because half the time that you're talking, I'm writing. That doesn't mean I'm catching everything that you're saying.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So also Redux, because when you were talking about Redux, you're just I kind of just use Redux to and then you kind of just like went. Just simply put, Redux is used to manage state across the application.
Mm, yeah.
Like that's kind of all you really need to like mention about Redux if you want to tie.
Okay. So I
Oh
went
yeah,
to
it's funny. The note I wrote, I put a note after that. I was like, I put Redux is used to manage state, and I put a note. You kind of rambled there because
oh, I
I don't
did.
like I don't
Okay.
remember exactly what you're saying, but it was
Yeah.
kind of very high level. Like it's like if Redux is here,
Oh,
you're like up here, like you're like a bird's eye view talking about it.
Okay.
So
So yeah,
that's
I
how
know what
rambling comes off
I
sometimes.
remember exactly what I said. I said that to store the to-dos, I use Redux to store. I started going into detail. So, but just give like a general, I use Redux to manage the state on the application.
Yeah,
Okay.
because like you're
Yeah.
like talking about to-dos, like I don't know about that application. Like I'm a recruiter. I don't, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
like those like kind of things. It's like okay for you to say that, but also just, like a better way to summarize it is that you use Redux to manage state in your to-do application,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that kind of keeps the RAM. Yeah. So, and I know I'm talking about you rambling. I don't think you were just rambling throughout like the whole interview. Okay. So don't think that that's what I'm trying to insinuate.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
do want to kind of like say that don't be afraid to keep your answers short and concise,
Okay.
right? Because rambling can actually end up working against you because
Yeah.
you can like accidentally say something that you didn't mean.
Mm,
And you end up rambling, and I accidentally write a key word from what you were rambling about that doesn't really help you.
mm,
But if
mm.
you're short and concise, you get, or D shorter, and I'm not saying for you to just have like 3-word answers, right? I'm just saying for you to kind of be,
Yeah, yeah.
hey, this is it. It just makes it easier to take down those notes and to get and to just understand the point that you're trying to make.
Mm,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. And I think you
Um,
said this before too, like if they have questions, they'll ask the questions. Like if they want you to go into more detail, they'll ask you for more detail.
exactly. But don't be too high level either to where it's like murky and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so when you were talking about the Spotify API, so you mentioning that you have experience working with different APIs is like really, really good and solid. Something you can
Mm,
also add on that is that you have experience with different authentication methods. Because
mm,
remember, you like basically had to implement a new authentication method when you were working with the Spotify API. Like,
yeah.
so the things that you like work on at times, it might seem like a small technical thing to you, but they are
Mm,
actually pretty big concepts when it comes to programming and working on a team. Like working with APIs is a big deal. Like knowing
mm,
how to consume, it's called consume information from APIs, is a pretty big deal. Like
mm.
working with different
Okay.
authentications, like methods and just ways to authenticate an application is not like a
Mm,
small thing, even though it might be like a small part of the app, like that's
yeah.
still a big deal. You get what I'm saying? So don't kind of like overlook those things. And even if you like didn't use all of the other ways to authenticate on the Spotify app, I would definitely urge you to at least like go read like the documentation on those different ways so that you kind of understand the actual workflow and thought process behind them, because you never know what method that whatever API that you are going to be using is going to ask you to use. You get,
Mm,
plus
okay. Yeah.
like all of that just kind of helps the actual discussion overall.
Yeah.
And just helps you to actually be more knowledgeable about technology. All right. And
Hmm.
that is what you want to give off. All right.
Yeah.
You don't want
Yeah.
to fake it because people can kind of like read that, but you definitely
Mm,
want to be confident about what you know. All right.
okay. Yeah. So can I just write some notes down real quick?
Yeah, man. And I can send you this video too, by the way. Uh,
Yeah, that would be cool, man. That actually would help me. I'll do that. I'll write the notes afterwards then.
so this note is probably more so for me or like a US recruiter versus someone in the UK. Because you were talking about, I was like, oh, so are you like a US UK citizen? And
Mm,
you started talking about your passport.
mm,
I don't know what the immigration requirements are, like in terms of
mm,
that. So, but I do know that in the US, a common question is, are you a US citizen? They basically just ask about like citizen,
Yeah.
because that's, so just saying, yeah, I'm a
Mm.
US and UK citizen would I mean, for me, like that would be a lot clearer, right? Because I
Mm.
basically had to ask you follow-up questions about that to better
Mm.
understand.
So just say I'm a UK and US citizen. That's
Boom.
it.
That, right?
Okay.
Like when you're a citizen, that basically answers everything, any possible question, right? I don't have to
Yeah.
ask about if you're authorized to work here and there, etc. All right. So this part here, when I was asking you if you were willing to relocate, right? You said that you pretty much said that you only work in the UK.
Yeah.
All right. So keep that truth to yourself, right? Like keep that truth to you, because man, I think I posted a video about this, or maybe I was writing notes for a video about it. In this process where you are at right now, like you do not want to be preemptively turning down offers.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
even if you have no intention of actually accepting the offer, you
Mm.
having an offer in hand can actually make it a lot easier for you to expedite your interview process with other companies. Because if you, let's say that you have an offer from company A, but a recruiter from company B reaches out to you, like that is, and I actually forgot to ask that question there, but like that is part of the interview process at times. And if they don't ask, you can actually bring that up. You can be like, hey, so I currently have an offer with this, with, you don't have to say the company itself, but you can definitely say that you currently have an offer with another company that you are interviewing with. Is it possible to expedite the interview process here? You get
Damn.
what I'm saying? So you can actually use the offer you have to help speed up the interview process at another company, because it's like, oh, one company already signed off on you and is giving you an offer. This company sees, oh crap, like we don't really want to kind of miss out on this opportunity because we have a long process. Let's try to expedite this and see if he's actually a fit here as well.
That's
'Cause
crazy. I didn't know that, man. That's crazy.
yeah, man, because then it's like, oh, you can now use that offer to negotiate whatever they offer you.
That's
You get
crazy. So like couldn't you technically just make that up though? Like, I mean, maybe it's not morally right, but couldn't you just say like I got another offer? Like, can we not speed this up? Because they're not going to ask you for proof, are they? They're not going to say, "Oh, can we see the offer?"
I don't think that they would do that, because you are not obligated to give them that like information, right? Well, actually, I don't know how things are in the UK, but in the US, you are not obligated to give them that information. Plus, I don't think that you want to do that, because it's like, if you don't have an offer and someone kind of perceives that, or later on in the interview process, they're like asking you these questions and it's like, oh, this guy isn't what we thought he was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that can actually mess things up, because even if you aren't really doing too well in the interview process, them questioning whether or not you actually have an offer could actually be a situation where they're like, you know what, this is a no. Versus if they weren't questioning that, they could still be like, okay, even though he's not what we expected or thought here, there's still a chance for him to be able to contribute on the team at this level.
So it could work against you. It could work
I
against you,
mean,
basically.
lying can always work against you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
it is just best not to have that on your chest, actually. So when you're telling, okay, yeah, we already kind of touched on that, because that's like a cool thing, like
Yeah.
this person is so focused and dedicated that they actually quit their job to teach themselves how to code full time. So you can weave that into your answer at the start. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you're kind of crapping on your sales skills, bro. Like like you having sales experience and just customer service experience, like you having good soft skills, because that is what that role insinuates that you have. Like it means
Mm,
that you have good customer facing experience. A lot
yeah.
of engineers don't have that. And
Okay.
companies really value that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like you being an engineer that has the technical skills and the soft skills makes you like
mm.
a double, triple threat. You know what I'm saying? Because you can like essentially do almost any role, right? Because that means that hey, this person has the know-how in terms of how the software actually works, and they have the soft skills to be able to explain technical concepts to non-technical people.
Okay.
That's a
Okay. Yeah.
superpower, bro. You know, like that is not something that you want to omit from the story of your background, because that
Mm,
actually works in your favor.
okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just remember the reason I didn't really say anything about it because I remembered you saying with your even with your like I just took your LinkedIn advice like you don't really want to you in your CV you only want to have your code and stuff on there. But now I should mention that. Should I mention that briefly now? Like if they ask me what I was doing before and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the question that I was answering when I gave you that like answer, but
Mm,
it is perfectly okay for you to put your past experience on your
okay.
LinkedIn, especially if
Yeah.
it can relate to actually helping you in the actual job search. But if you had like 5 different jobs within different short time spans, or
Oh,
jobs
okay.
that like
Yeah.
aren't like really too relevant in terms
Yeah.
of like speaking strongly to your overall application, you don't need to include that.
Mm,
All right.
okay. Yeah. 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 Got you.
And the note that I put here was, oh, I wrote help salespeople retain customers, and I underlined retaining, because I'm like, oh, dude, like all companies would love to retain customers, and this is something you have experience doing. That's a great
Mm,
skill and a great addition to mention. All right. So, and I put,
okay.
yeah, talk about your sales and customer service experience. Soft skills is very important. All right.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Got you. Got you, bro.
And this is what's the last thing I wrote. Okay, yeah. This was just kind of a minor thing when I was asking about your experience working remotely and communicating. You kind of touched on your experience with your manager. Don't forget that you can also mention working with me as your mentor, in
Mm,
terms of
okay.
like emailing back and forth and making sure that you like always had screenshots, code snippets, GitHub, like, because that,
Mm,
like, the way that you were interacting with me uh is pretty much what the way that you are going to be interacting with your coworkers on an engineering
mm,
team. So if you
okay.
already have that kind of experience interacting with someone when it comes to software development, that is something that you should mention as well, because that overall helps your application. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's it, man. Yeah,
Great.
that's it.
Appreciate it. I was gonna say, I just want to ask you a few questions, right? I wanted to ask you, because I have this interview on Monday, and I looked up like the interview process for this company, and on Glassdoor, people were saying how they expected to meet a hiring manager just to have like an introduction, but apparently, what's been happening is there's been like 2 or 3 senior engineers who just come on and start asking like ridiculous technical questions. Like it was weird. Like I just looked it up and it was exactly the exact job in the exact area that I've applied for. So I'm 100% positive it's going to be the same. And I mean, I was just wanting to like because I basically I'm going through all because I have like a bunch of flashcards I'm going through like on HTTP, React, JavaScript. But what I did the other day was I had a first stage thing for a company and they wanted me to do this coding problem online and I didn't understand it, so I literally just quit. I was like, there's no point in me even doing this because I literally can't do this. Like what they want me to do in this coding problem, I have a 20-minute time limit. I cannot do it. So I was like, I have to bounce. And I'm just wondering, like, for this interview, what do you think I should Like, is there a specific website or maybe a specific coding problem that I should look at? Because I want to just make sure I'm on point, you know?
I think part of like the fear that a lot of people have when interviewing is feeling like they have to be able to answer every question that's asked them, especially technically, and that they have to know everything. Dude, even I don't know everything. You get what I'm saying? Like it is literally, even the people asking you those questions don't know everything. It is literally impossible for you to have every answer to every question. So something that you have to be comfortable with, like anytime someone asks you a technical question during an interview that you don't know, don't just say I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like, don't just say I don't know or I'm not sure, period, full stop. No, don't do that. Always put a comma there and be like, I don't know right now, but this is something that I am willing to learn or looking to learn or excited to learn at this company. Or you know what I'm saying? Kind of like extend it that way, because if you are hiring a junior engineer on your team, one of the most important skills that you are looking for is that this person can be self-sufficient a bit, like in terms of actually trying to solve and figure things out on their own. Right. So if somebody asks you a question that you don't know and you just kind of stop there, that then like it insinuates that, hey, once we get on the actual job, this might be how this person handles unfamiliar situations. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
So,
I was just thinking, but like, say for example, if you're doing a coding, like a pair coding with somebody, and I don't know like at all what, I just freeze up and I have no idea what to do on the coding problem. Like should I just go online and just like do a whole bunch of coding problems before, like just to make sure my memory's
I
refreshed?
mean, even if you did, do you think that the one problem that you see, like,
Yeah. I get what
so
you're saying. I thought that. Go ahead,
wait.
sir.
Let me answer like the first question. So if you are doing a pairing program with someone and you're just stuck, like you have no clue what to do, where to go, etc. Well, think about when that happened with me, right? Because you've like paired, like every time me and you were doing some kind of stuff on video, that is pairing. You get what I'm saying? So it's like anytime that you are stuck, don't forget you're actually pairing. That person, even though this is also the person in like interviewing you, that person can still help guide you and help point you in the right direction. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask them for some guidance, or don't be like afraid to say like, I'm not sure how to kind of like start on this right now. Can you kind of
Yeah.
help point me in the right direction? You get what I'm saying? Because that is going to happen. It's going to happen in the interview process. It's going to happen at work, etc. Like it is impossible for you to be prepared for every single potential possible question that they're
Okay.
gonna ask
Yeah.
you within a short, you know what I'm saying? Like that,
Yeah.
especially at this level in terms of you are an entry-level engineer. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
don't put that pressure on yourself to try to know everything about everything. Like that,
Yeah.
like that's not it.
Okay. And,
Plus you are also able to Google on these exercises. Like
oh, really?
if you're pairing with someone, yeah. Like unless they tell you not to Google, which is weird because as an engineer, you have access to the internet. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
like just keep in mind you can Google on
Okay.
those interviews. All right.
Okay.